to you the gentlemen and the starting lineup for the Connecticut Classic 150. The gentleman that will be starting at the point by luck of the draw will be sitting behind the wheel of the number 28 car of Meriden, Connecticut, the Raymore and Hall Liberty Limousine Chevrolet. It'll be James Civali out of Meriden, Connecticut.
And next door to him on the front row will be car number 19 from Norwalk. Major Motion and Silk Plumbing and Heating bring us the Chevrolet driven by Ronnie Silk.
Row number 2, he is Stafford's all-time winningest driver. The Alley Insulation Chevrolet. Brad LaFontaine prepares the automobile. Eddie Whelen owns the race car. The Big Red Machine, car number 36 out of Plainville, Connecticut. TC Ted Christopher.
The 2003 Whelen champion will start fourth in car number 2 from Ridgefield, Connecticut. In the Whisk Snuggle Ford, it is Todd Zegedy.
Fifth starter to the field. He set fast time here today in the Camco Supply Corporation Chevrolet with a time of 18.147. From Northampton, Pennsylvania, he's a former champion of the Whelen Modified Tour, Mr. Tony Hirschman.
The last time the Whelen Tour was in town, this driver got the biggest win of his career. In the Mystic Missile Dodge, he is our Spring Sizzler champion in car number 4 from Jericho, New York, Donny Lia.
Seventh starter to the grid is a second-generation driver, driving the Redline Oil Ronnie Bouchard Auto Chevrolet. His time was 18.257. From Southington, Connecticut, car number 10 for Eddie Flemke.
The 2000 Whelen champion will start 8th. Aboard a new ride, car 00 in the Reynolds Auto Wrecking Chevrolet, here is Jerry Marquis.
Ninth starter to the field, he set fast time during the Spring Sizzler. He drives the Furnace and Duck Dodge out of Northampton, Pennsylvania. He is a second-generation driver that's already made his presence felt on the Whelen Modified Tour. For car number 59, it is Matt Hirschman.
One of the up-and-coming young drivers will be starting 10th in car number 09 in the Triple G Scaffolding Chevrolet, a driver from Marshfield, Massachusetts, Bobby Grigas.
11th starter to the grid. This gentleman has done a lot in modified racing. They say that when you refer to an individual just by one name, he is at the top of his perfection. It is the Atlantic Sprinkler Chevrolet from Rocky Hill, Connecticut, car number 14 for the Reggie Ruggiero.
We go from one of the oldest drivers in the field to the youngest, 16-year-old competitor in car number 40 from Kensington, Connecticut, in the F.J. Hubery Incorporated Chevrolet, it's Ryan Preece.
Lucky starting position number 13 comes with the colors red, white, and blue, kind of appropriate for Memorial Weekend, driving the Blewett Motorsports Chevrolet. From Howell, New Jersey, driving car number 66, it is John Blewett III.
Next on the field in 14th position, car number 91. This driver won an SK Modified Championship at Stafford Motor Speedway in the Earth Technology Pontiac. Here is Frank Rocco.
In the 15th starting position, he takes over the Chase Racing Enterprises Chevrolet. He'll be driving the Racing Against Cancer machine from Lebanon, Connecticut, car number 77 for Zach Sylvester.
Our next driver from Northampton, Pennsylvania has a new ride in 2007. In the Newtown Exxon Sunoco Chevrolet, car number 94, here is Eric Beers.
He was the final car to take time, but he moved rather quickly into the starting lineup to start in the 17th starting position. The JT Motorsports Ford from Howell, New Jersey, car number 99 for Jamie Tomeno.
A fellow New Jersey driver will start alongside in car number 12. T.S. Haulers and United Crane bring us the Chevrolet for our point leader, the man they call Showtime, Jimmy Blewett.
In the 19th starting position, it'll be one of Stafford's own, a graduate from the SK Modified Division. North End Auto Parts brings us the Cause Auto Sales Chevrolet from Rocky Hill, Connecticut. They call him the Bulldog, car number 64 for Eric Burns.
Starting 20th is a driver who came up from the Super Modifieds in the Stewart's Automotive Chevrolet. From Chelmsford, Massachusetts, here is John McKennedy.
21st starting position, he'll drive the Bear Motorsports Billy Colaccio Prepared Chevrolet. From Auburn, Massachusetts, driving car number 13, Ricky Fuller.
This driver had a great run tonight in qualifying to finish 22nd in time trials. In the Performance Engine Kendall Oil Chevrolet, a driver from Riverton, Connecticut, Wade Cole.
Hill Enterprises and Coors Light bring us the car that perhaps travels the furthest distance to compete here on the Whelen Modified Tour. From Buffalo, New York, he calls his home now in the South. Car number 79 for the talented and versatile Chuck Hosfeld.
And a New Englander will start alongside in the 24th position in the Crossroads RV Center, Viveros Insurance Chevrolet. Car number 46, the man on board is Dick Houlihan.
They say it's tough to be behind the 8 ball, but this guy is looking to move in front of the 8 ball. Sitting behind the wheel of car number 8, the Cypher Construction Chevrolet from Hampton Bay, New York, it is car number 8 for Glenn Tyler.
The numbers always add up for this driver. He is an accountant by trade, but also a talented race driver. In the AP Marquardt VP Racing Fuel Chevrolet, car number 6, here is Ron Uhas.
He has multiple championships to his credit. The defending series champion of the Flamingo Motorsports Diversified Metal Chevrolet. From Coventry, Rhode Island, car number 16, Mighty Mike Stefanik.
This rookie driver hit the wall today during qualifying, but he will start 28th aboard car number 06 in the Greenfield Dodge, second-generation driver, Billy Pouch Jr.
29 starting spot is the Riverhead Building Supply Chevrolet. From Riverhead, Long Island, New York, driving car number 58, it is Kevin Goodale.
This driver put on a great show in Spring Sizzler weekend in car number 21. From Canton, Massachusetts, Superior Oil and Lombardi Inside Out bring us the Chevrolet driven by a second-generation driver, Richard Savory.
31st starter. The final car to start the grid will be the Area Auto Racing News Ralph Solomon Chevrolet Cavalier. From Trenton, New Jersey, car number 0 for Danny Sammons. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your starting lineup for the Connecticut Classic 150. The traditional, a route send-off as our safety personnel. Part of course, the Super Clean, Safety Clean, our medical staff, as well as our officials, giving up the official thumbs up in memory of the late, great Jack Arute Sr., who's watching from the heavens. This is round number 2 for the Whelen Modified Tour here at the Stafford Motor Speedway, and there's no question about it. This is what racing in the Northeast is all about. This is truly modified country.
The perfect race car. Sturdy enough to have contact. They bang and they climb into each other. They're also fast enough to pull away from the field. So you have the muscle, you have the power, you have the speed, you have the Whelen Tour Modifieds.
You've got the best of the best, the oldest division in NASCAR. The strength, the backbone, some call it. They're ready, and they're ready to perform before you. 150 laps show up on the big board. An indication we're moments away from the start. James Civali on the inside of the front row. Already one victory to his credit at the Thompson International Speedway. Outside, Ronnie Silk. Independent runner, the Grasso brothers just never give up. Backyard type of an operation, but with Silk's talent, they could win this race here tonight.
He had a great run in qualifying, and he's starting on the outside of the front row. So two guys who almost grew up at Stafford Motor Speedway, James Civali and Ronnie Silk, making up the front row. Behind them, the all-time winningest driver at Stafford, Ted Christopher in car number 36. And Todd Zegedy, remember he won the CarQuest Fall Final in car number 2. He lost his crew chief this year to Phil Moran, who went down south to work for Bill Davis Racing. Took 3 men to take his place, but Todd Zegedy will be a factor tonight.
There is one circuit before we go to green. It's a beautiful night here in New England. Picture perfect at Jack Arute Stafford Motor Speedway. And the fans are about ready to witness the excitement of modified racing. The ground will shake beneath the grandstand as the rumble and the roar of the mighty modifieds are set to go green. Lights off on the safety vehicle as it heads down into turn number 3. Ladies and gentlemen, join with us as we are about ready to commence on the start 31 cars strong. 41 cars were assembled in the paddock area. 10 go home with disappointment, but one of the 31 that you see before you will be the winner of the Connecticut Classic 150. Deep into turn number 3, beneath the CarQuest Motorsports marking. Give them a wave. It's showtime off turn number 4 as they work their way down to the line. We're racing here at Stafford. The green is out. We're underway.
Great start. Ronnie Silk trying to get the jump early on against Civali.
It is Silk that stands on the gas. Civali challenges down low. They're wheel to wheel and side by side to the bottom of turn number 3.
And now jerking his way into the lead is Civali. The hole opens up for Ted Christopher. He's trying to climb into second.
Christopher wastes no time at all. Silk gets bounced around like a ball in a pinball machine. Gathers it back. He reels it back in. Ted Christopher with a Ford-powered race car. It looks more like a spaceship, Matt, than it does a modified. It is flying, and Civali can feel the heat of the Ford as they come back to the line.
Two guys who have hooked up on numerous occasions are battling for the lead in the Connecticut Classic. Donny Lia has moved into 5th, one notch ahead of Tony Hirschman.
A little further back in the field, the wrench is starting to show some muscle as he works his way to contend underneath Bobby Grigas, the rookie, who's literally going from the front to the back of the field. Challenge for the lead, 3 laps in. Brand new leader emerges. Civali has to tuck into second. Ted Christopher taking no prisoners. He'll take over the lead. Christopher puts the red 36 out in front and motors away to take over position number 1.
Now remember, Ted Christopher dominated a good portion of the spring sizzler here at Stafford, made a late pit stop, and never made it back through the pack. So I think Ted Christopher has a lot to prove tonight in car number 36.
Brad LaFontaine said the strategy that he picked for the sizzler would have worked, but unfortunately timing is everything. He said today's strategy, it's a night event, is different than what we use during Spring Sizzler weekend. I asked him to tell us that story. He said, well, you can't tell your secrets and show your cards too early. And now Christopher is leading him off turn number 4 and bringing him back to the line.
Zach Sylvester tried to get underneath Bobby Grigas in car number 09. Couldn't make it happen. But Sylvester trying again. That is the best battle on the track right now as everybody is spread out from the rest of the field.
You know, one of the stories today that people were shocked about that was Mike Stefanik did not turn in a good qualifying run with car number 16. How bad was that run? Well, he started way back in the 27th starting position. He has already passed 11 cars and is still coming to the front of the field. Mike Stefanik is a true champion, and at one time they literally said he owned the real estate in turn 1 with a move to the bottom of the racetrack that no one else could ever accomplish back then.
Well, 16 victories on the modified tour for Stefanik, more than double any other active driver.
So with 10 circuits going into the record books the next time when they cross the stripe, it's still Ted Christopher, one of 2 leaders leading the event. James Civali still in second. Ronnie Silk literally tagged the wall, corrected the race car in speed, and sets in the 3rd spot. Donny Lia is up to the 4th position, and 5th is still Todd Szegedy. Szegedy was married just a couple of weeks ago and would like nothing better to celebrate that with a victory here today. Hirschman now showing a lot of muscle. Tony Hirschman told us after time trials that he thinks this is the best race car he's had at Stafford in a lot of years. And Matt, by its performance right now, you'd have to agree.
Well, he just buzzsawed his way underneath Todd Szegedy to pick up the spot. Jerry Marquis made the identical move. So Marquis is a rocket ship in car number 00. He is 6th. Todd Szegedy has dropped from 5th to 7th.
You know, it was Jerry Marquis that in the offseason got the surprise call of his career when Bob Garbarino said, I'm not sure if I'm going to go racing in 2007. Marquis tried to get a ride, and with his credentials, it was almost impossible to believe that he couldn't find one. In the 11th hour, just hours before the Spring Sizzler, he teamed up with Joe Brady, and he almost won the Spring Sizzler. This team is really digging in and really working, and it's showing, as now Jerry Marquis sets in the 6th spot with car number 00. That's the Reynolds Auto Wrecking sponsored car. Civali is playing for keeps now. He's really headhunting to the back bumper of Ted Christopher.
Little contact, and that cost Civali some momentum. And Christopher was able to increase his lead. Lia took a shot underneath Ronnie Silk. Could not complete that move. But Lia, a factor in car number 4.
Donny Lia, kind of an interesting situation. His family owns a prominent group of very successful dealerships throughout the United States. They had a first-class team and first-class operation, and a lot of the so-called experts couldn't believe when they decided to sell everything and go racing with Bob Garbarino. But that chemistry and that magic has really paid off. That team is a winning team. It's already proven that, as they're looking very, very strong here in the early laps, setting in the 4th spot.
Donny Lia said that it was too much of a burden for him to run his own team. So he hooked up with Bob Garbarino, and Bob was happy to have him on board because he brought a lot of crew members to the table. So he was able to replenish the crew, and of course, they had never won a spring sizzler before until Donny Lia completed that deal on back in April.
We'll talk about the senior class. We'll take a look at the Reggie Ruggiero, car number 14. The Reg is working his way to the front of the field. There was a time in modified racing in the 70s, the 80s, and in the early 90s. Reggie Ruggiero was the guy to beat. He took some time off from racing, came back, but this team and the familiar red number 14 with drivers like Tony Siscone and even the Blewett brothers had such success on the New Jersey short tracks and the tracks in upstate New York. Now that success is starting to come back into play, and if anybody thought Reggie Ruggiero was out of it or had passed his game, they're wrong. Look at him run all over the back bumper of Matt Hirschman, the second generation Hirschman with car number 59.
And Hirschman approaching Eddie Flemke in car number 10. So Reggie Ruggiero started his racing career at a track that doesn't exist anymore, Plainville Stadium. At one time he got 9 victories in a row. Almost unbelievable that you can win 9 in a row.
Sure is, and he did it with finesse and he did it with style and left his mark and his presence known in the record book there and at the old Riverside Park Speedway. Look a little further back in this field and you'll focus in on the 13 car. That is Ricky Fuller. Now here's an interesting side note. He's going to be our television commentator for the extra distance Whelen Modified Tour events here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. But there's another story that surrounds Ricky Fuller. He's going to be a big factor involved in Toyota racing and looks to have a Toyota truck ride in 2008. Car number 06 will bring out the caution, Billy Pouch Jr., who spins down the back straightaway, almost in the exact spot, Matt, that he made contact with the wall, which he referred to in time trials as a rookie mistake. Billy Pouch's family, when it comes to the old Flemington Speedway and racetracks on dirt in New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania, Billy Pouch is considered royalty when it comes to racing on dirt and even on asphalt. Tremendous, tremendous successful family. And Billy Pouch Jr. has a lot of those same characteristics. So keep your eyes on that young driver as he'll be coming up definitely in race events in years to come. 23 laps are into the record books, 2 leaders in 23 circuits. My statistician Linda tells me the following. James Civali has led the first 2 laps. Ted Christopher picked up the lead on lap number 3. And Ronnie Silk currently sets in the 3rd spot. At one point, Matt, when Teddy Christopher went to go around Ronnie Silk, Silk literally scuffed the front straightaway wall and somehow kept his foot in it and held on to that 3rd spot. So you got to give him a lot of credit as well. This kid is so overdue for a victory. I remember when he first started his racing career at the Waterford Speedbowl, they didn't even refer to him by his first name. They kept saying he is the godson of Randy LaJoie. And one day he said to me, I just want to be a good race car driver. Well, guess what? He's not the godson of Randy LaJoie anymore. He's a great race car driver and the godson of Randy LaJoie.
And he's also a great athlete. And I think that's the way reason he was able to make that correction that he did. A great high school lacrosse player. So he's not only efficient inside a race car, he was also good at a very difficult game to play, lacrosse, as Eddie Flemke Jr. heads on to pit road.
It has been a difficult week for Ed Flemke Jr. His mother passed away this past week. Our condolences goes out to him and his family as the number 10 down on pit road. Ron Bouchard, you remember him, the legendary winner of what they called as Winston Cup racing in those years, and we wish him the success and the best there. Tony Sutton is down there. Let's see what he has to say.
Well, the 10 cars in there making a major adjustment in the right rear suspension of the 10 car. They're still up in the air. Checking tire pressure on the outside rear. He is down and away, not liking the way the car was handling. Major adjustments on the rear suspension.
Sure is. They were able to get the car back down, and it rejoins in the competition. Danny Sammons is down on pit road. The 6 of Ronnie Uhouse. Here's a kid with a dream, a short track driver who had a tremendous amount of success at facilities like Waterford and Thompson. His dream is to run on the Whelen Modified Tour. They do it on a budget with no money at all. This is a very talented, versatile driver. He was an outstanding quarter midget racer as a youngster and another great athlete.
He was a great baseball player for Bryant College, so he played well in baseball. And as a quarter midget driver, he was a guy that everybody tried to pattern their kids after.
That's right.
Because Chris Pastriak, when he started, his father Charlie, who was a great veteran in this series, said, the guy I want you to watch is Ronnie Uhouse. If you drive like him, you're going to have a great career.
That is so true, and he has proven just that. The field is now doubled up and paired off down the back straightaway. Let's set the field for you. Car number 36 is your leader. Ted Christopher. James Civali is alongside. Ronnie Silk, Donny Lia. Row number 2. Then it's Tony Hirschman. Making up the 3rd row as we're about to go back to green. As they head off turn number 4, Jerry Marquis has moved into the 6th spot. And then it is Todd Zegedy, and it looks like Matt Hirschman as they work their way off turn number 4. Back to green.
Good jump, Ted Christopher, but can he hold it against James Civali?
James Civali running high, wide, and handsome, but not enough. That Ford just roars down these straightaways here at the half mile, and Ted Christopher is the leader.
Jerry Marquis getting ambitious on the outside. Let's see if he can tuck it in against Donny Lia. Marquis hanging tough on the outside, and he is able to hold his own against Tony Hirschman, who had the fastest car in qualifying.
He sure did, and now it is Marquis who tucks it back into the 5th spot. 6th position currently is Tony Hirschman, Todd Zegedy, and then it's Matt Hirschman, along with John Blewett. Now, Blewett told us after time trials today that he said, we just aren't as strong as we was a year ago. We've had some good runs, but we've had some disappointing runs. He said, today I'm hoping to change all of that. Now look a little further back. Here comes Mighty Mike Stefanik. The Sanderson and McLeod, Flamingo Motorsports, number 16. Barry Cannell is one of the masterminds behind that car. And good old Sly, who knows how to get magic for Mike Stefanik, has been turning the wrenches, and they've been creating that magic. They want a title and they want another title. They don't come to race for second. They missed the qualifying setup today, but the race setup looks pretty strong at this point now.
As he is in the upper echelon of cars trying to get by Bobby Grigas.
Caution, caution. We've got Chuck Hosfeld in a wheel that is sheared off the left front and is literally rolling down through the center of the infield. So the caution flag comes out, second caution of the event, 32 laps in, and you can see Hosfeld's car hit at a ton, and it is severely damaged. Matt?
And isn't that almost in the same location
Yes.
as in the Spring Sisler when he got stomped on by Frank Rocco's car and almost obliterated that roof of that car? So almost the same location, the same spot in the race for Chuck Hosfeld, and the same disaster has struck.
Chuck Hosfeld took to the likings of Billy Colton and Billy Colton's father. And if you know the racing business, the Colton family owned what they refer to as Troyer Engineering and build the majority of open-wheel modified race cars here in the northeastern region of the country. That was when Hosfeld was just 16 years of age. At tracks in upstate New York, Hosfeld became a household word. He then was seen by a gentleman that you might be a little familiar with, by the name of Jack Roush, who said, maybe we'll try this kid and do some testing in a pickup truck on the Craftsman Series. He went and he did that, and he did have some success there. Came back to modified racing for Bob Garbarino, had some success there, and now this car is the car that travels the furthest distance to compete on the Whelen Modified Tour. It is housed in the South in a division that is pretty much a northern division. Let's go to Tony Sutton, who's north of the announcer's tower.
Well, I can tell you this much. Drivers come to the racetrack with anticipation for the worst. Look at the spares. This is Ryan Priest's number 40. We have drive shafts, a complete rear end assembly, complete Nerf bar assembly down below. There's a transmission down here. All the front end and suspension components that are necessary if they're damaged are here. They are anticipating being able to address any type of problem that might occur on the racetrack. This takes forethought, this takes timing, and this takes money.
And it's all called a crash cart, and that's exactly what it is. There is every component you possibly could use to put this all back together. Who is Ryan Priest? Well, Matt Buckler said in the starting lineup, he is the youngest driver in the field. He is the grandson of Bob Judkins, legendary owner, the founder of the Pinto Revolution and the famed 2X that had so many successful drivers over the years. So, you know, there's a real story there for this young driver. His dad competed in the pro stocks at the old Riverside Park Speedway, and Ryan Priest is like the Logano kid that everybody's been talking about in the Busch circuit down in Pit Road. Speaking of young and talented, Jimmy Blewett. Thank God for the Jimmy Blewetts of this world. There was a time when this division was loaded with controversial players like Jim Spencer and Tommy Baldwin, who were willing to say whatever they felt and do just about whatever they felt. Then we got away with that, and it became all polished and Nextel style of racing. But not Jimmy Blewett. He'll still tell it like it is.
And we would like to say get well to the PR man of Jimmy Blewett and John Blewett, Roy from Long Island, who is fighting emphysema and is unable to come out to the track this weekend. But we know we're going to see him and hear from him before the season is over.
Yeah, he's a real good guy. Let's go back to our host for just a second. 35 laps and counting. We'll be going back to green in just a moment in the Connecticut Classic 150 from Jack Arute, Stafford Motor Speedway.
Okay, Ben, thank you. I just want to remind our race fans that in a little while we'll be announcing the lucky number draw for this evening from Pit Stopper Magazine, and the winners of tonight's Lucky Numbers contest will receive commemorative Pit Stopper Magazine with autographs of all the modified tour drivers that are here with us tonight at Stafford Motor Speedway. So we'll draw those lucky numbers a bit later on. And right now we'll go back over to Ben and Matt as we're getting set to go back to green.
Let's set the field for you. 36 laps up on the board. Car number 36 is your leader. James Civali sets alongside. Row number 2 is Ronnie Silk and Donny Lia. 3 rows back, Jerry Marquis teamed up with Tony Hirschman. 4 rows back, Todd Szegedy teamed up with Matt Hirschman. Then it's John Blewett teamed up with Reggie Ruggiero for the 6th row. Let's see what's going to happen. Flemke burns out on pit road, looking to pick up at the rear of the field. Pace car dives to the bottom, down the bottom of turn number 3. Let's see what's going to happen as they work their way back to the line.
2 guys in the front row who never like to be second, Christopher or Civali.
This is a classic battle. The 36 car is powered by a Ford, and then the 28 by a Chevrolet.
Christopher looks tough again, but here comes Civali on the outside, trying to make a difficult pass.
Look at the spoiler, Ronnie Silk. He is in the 3rd spot. Is 3rd good enough? Not for Silk. He runs Civali clean off turn number 4.
Donny Lia also in the neighborhood in car number 4, so the top 4 cars can fit inside a matchbox. And also making a move is Todd Szegedy, trying to get underneath the wrench.
Meanwhile, John Blewett picked up yet another position here. He's following the Reg and Szegedy as they work their way to the front. And where is Mike Stefanik? He's about 4 cars behind them. What does this mean? He has passed more cars than anyone else in the field in 39 laps. If he can keep up this pace, he'll be up with Ted Christopher in no time at all. Strategy, will some cars pit for tires? Will they go the distance? Time holds the answer. 40 laps and counting here at Stafford.
Well, you can make it 150 laps on one set of tires. Ted Christopher has done it before and has been able to win. So it has been done. Now Lia starting to crowd Ronnie Silk in the fight for 3rd.
And that's a good battle right there. They're literally running very, very close. Pretty much a nose-to-tail situation. Things are starting to string out just a bit, and that creates a little bit of a breather as now Stefanik pulls out of line. That's a battle just about for the 11th and 12th position currently as we speak. Meanwhile, as they come off the turn, Todd Szegedy, the newlywed, is all over the back bumper of Matt Hirschman. And that's currently the battle for the 8th, 9th, and 10th position. A little bit further back in the field. No changes there. Everything is pretty much copacetic as they work their way back to the line. 43 laps are now complete.
Ted Christopher at the front of the field, and I think the best way you could describe the man behind him, a younger Ted Christopher, and that's James Civali. They both have kind of the same MO, the way they like to be aggressive out on the racetrack.
They sure do. You know, there was a time in the SK Modified division that some people might have thought of Civali as just too aggressive. He went to the Busch circuit and he touched one of those sacred competitors. And for a while it looked like his racing career might be over. But guess what? He proved them all wrong. He came back, he adjusted his style, he showed his talent, and he wins races. And he's done it with finesse, and he's gonna win titles if he keeps following the same path. Hats off to James Civali, who's currently your number 2 car with car number 28.
If you want to check out an interesting battle, look for about 10th place. That's where Reggie Ruggiero and John Blewett III are going at it. John Blewett always said he never got the credit here in New England that he thought he should deserve, because all of his wins, or most of them, took place in New Jersey. 95 career wins, hopes to get to the 100 win mark this season.
That is very true. He won the North versus South shootout a few years back. He's won just about everywhere imaginable. He is one of those drivers, Matt, that is not only a good race driver, he's a great setup man. He really studies his equipment. He knows what makes the car work and how it comes into play. And you'll notice many times when Jimmy Blewett wins a race, he'll give his brother the credit for winning that race because he says it's his brother's setup that has made a difference. Ricky Fuller pulls down on pit road. He'll be coming to the announcer's booth shortly. We're waiting for the curtain call.
Right now, it's a good battle between Silk and Lia. Those two guys continue to trade punches in the battle for third.
We talked earlier about tire strategy. Now Tony Sutton has the stories and the facts down on pit road.
Well, we talked to the Hoosier techs earlier in the day, and they looked at the tires after practice, and they said they really look good, even though the temperature of the track was very high this afternoon, over 90 degrees ambient, over 120 degrees in the asphalt. They said they don't think there's going to be any problem once the sun goes down. So the question is, are they going to burn the tires off by running real hard? Or are they going to conserve the tires and go the whole 150 laps? We'll find that out soon.
Well, Matt, you mentioned it earlier, the story that Brad LaFontaine had told us, and he said, my strategy was not wrong, but it just didn't work for the Sizzler. You asked him, will he take those same chances? His answer was no, but I'm not telling you what I'm going to do yet. I'm not showing you those cards.
Well, if Christopher can continue to run like this, I don't think he's going to relinquish the lead by pitting for tires. As right now, Christopher is in the penthouse. Maybe some guys deeper in the pack. Lia, perhaps, who has been racing hard against Ronnie Silk. Todd Szegedy has been racing hard. They might have a different strategy. But right now, Christopher's on easy street.
He sure is. We should also point out that almost every one of these teams has somebody who is literally on the radio that is telling the driver each and every lap what he is doing time-wise in an effort that he doesn't want that competitor to burn the car out, to burn those tires out. Just pace themselves, maintain, and hit your marks each and every time. Christopher sure looks like the rabbit in a horse race or the rabbit in a dog race as he is going. Speaking of gone, Donny Lia just went around Ronnie Silk like Silk had the binders on and threw out a parachute.
And that was the same turn in which Lia got the lead in the Spring Sizzler against Todd Szegedy, his favorite part of the racetrack, and now the 4-car has moved into third.
Bob Garbarino has owned some of the most successful cars over the years. Brian Ross had a tremendous amount of success back in the 80s. Carl Bugsy Stevens had success. Tim Conley had success. Robbie Summers has had success. Chuck Hossville had success. But Bob Garbarino will tell you that if at first he thought he would be this strong with Donny Lia this early, he said, it's mind-boggling to me, but the kid has talent and he listens. And that's the difference between him and some of those other great drivers.
And we've talked about it before, the unusual way that Lia got started in racing. Instead of doing it the way most young drivers do in go-karts or quarter midgets, he started on the computer racing, and that's how he got hooked on the sport.
Sure was, and it's obviously paid off because he is very strong here today. Literally at this point, the top 5 cars about the same distance between first and second, which is probably about 300 feet, separates second from third and third from fourth. Then it's a whole different ball game. Jerry Marquis and the 48 car of Tony Hirschman. These two drivers have a lot of the same similarities, Matt. They are both veteran drivers. They're both in the 50 age bracket, and they're both very patient individuals. They don't use up their racing equipment unless the money is put on the table and they're going for the money. And I think you're seeing a perfect example of that. Marquis is not letting Hirschman get out of his side, and Hirschman is not running away from Jerry Marquis.
At the NASCAR banquet this year in Las Vegas for the weekly racing series, Jerry Marquis got a pretty distinctive honor. He was voted as one of the top 25 weekly race drivers of all time. I asked him about it at the icebreaker. He didn't even know about it. So they kept it a good secret from him, but Jerry Marquis and also Ted Christopher was also in that category as one of the top 25 weekly race drivers in the history of the weekly racing series.
And very deservedly so. There wasn't a bad choice among those drivers. You can bank on that. We are coming up on the 63rd circuit. Ted Christopher, the leader, comes up on the 8 ball of Glenn Tyler. Tyler, one of the bullring drivers from Riverhead Raceway. As now Christopher shoots on by. James Civali is still second. Third is still the 4 of Donny Lia. 4th spot, the 19 of Ronnie Silk. 5th spot, Tony Hirschman. 6th spot, Jerry Marquis. 7th spot, Matt Hirschman. 8th spot, Todd Zegedy. 9th spot, Reggie Ruggiero. And rounding up the top 10 is John Blewett. Where is Mike Stefanik? He's in the 12th spot with Zach Sylvester in 13th.
And we're not even at the halfway point yet in this one. Different drivers have different philosophies. For Glenn Tyler in car number 8, he's just happy to make the field tonight.
Look out, Civali just pulled out a line and gave the 2nd spot to Donny Lia. You literally see him do that, Matt.
Yeah, and I think he had a little trouble negotiating his way around the lap car of Tyler, and that set Civali back, and now he moves into 3rd.
If you've got a stopwatch, time the 36 this time when it crossed the line for 1 lap. Then go back and time the 4. Do the average and you'll discover something that might surprise you. Donny Lia is the faster of the 2 cars.
And Ben Dodge can tell that just by looking at the 2 cars. He has eyes for stopwatches.
But it is still Ted Christopher, your leader, 68 laps and counting here at the Stafford Motor Speedway.
Boy, a battle deeper in the field as Todd Zegedy gets around one of the lap cars. So Zegedy's still a factor. Of course, we've only had 2 cautions in this race. They both come early on lap 23 and lap 33. So we've had more than 30 laps of green flag racing at this stage of the race.
A gaggle of cars in front of the leader. And it is heavy traffic for Ted Christopher. He comes up on Danny Sammons, Ronnie Uhouse, and Jimmy Blewett.
Boy, how is he going to make it by?
Well, this is what Donny Lia was hoping for, Matt, because this is going to slow down Christopher, and you could see that perfect that time, Matt. He closed it up to less than 200 feet.
Yeah, that big lead by Christopher started to disappear quicker than a $20 bill at a gas station. Look at Lia, come on.
He is there. Close enough to smell the scent of the money in victory lane as he comes back to the line.
Well, he's almost in handshaking distance as Christopher had to slow down because of the lap traffic, and Lia is right there.
Danny Sammons right in front of the leader, about to go down a lap. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 cars, all lap vehicles that the leaders, first and second, are coming up on.
Of course, the cars in front of Christopher are fighting to stay on the lead lap. Little bump between McKennedy and car number 73, And he is able to blast his way underneath Richard Savory in car number 21. So things got physical between those two cars.
They sure did. Lia has closed it up. Down the back straightaway. When they cross the stripe this time, we are halfway down and halfway to go. Ted Christopher working over Salmons, trying to put him down a lap. Ronnie Uhouse in front of Salmons. Lia waiting in the wings.
Think Ted might be getting a little frustrated now?
Definitely. You wouldn't want to hear the conversation going on there to his spotter, as it's time to pick and choose. Here comes Lia. Was able to set himself up for the move, but couldn't complete the mission.
One thing, the cakewalk that Christopher had is turned into a cliffhanger.
It sure has. And while all that's been happening, James Civali is moving back to contend with first and second. Lia made a bid for it, Matt, but it didn't happen. Salmons is the thorn in Christopher's side.
Now remember, Lia's favorite spot of the racetrack is heading into turn 3.
Salmons is in trouble. He was sideways. Christopher got by, and so didn't Lia. And Civali closed his eyes for a second.
Ooh, a little bump to the 0 of Danny Salmons by Civali.
Off the turn, Uhouse pulls by and lets the leaders go. That's called respect. Off the second turn, Savory becomes the next target. Christopher spotters telling him at this point, now you've got some clean racetrack. Get away from Lia now, quick. And he does. He's starting to pull away again, Matt.
Well, almost instantly, Christopher is back on the wheel as he has opened up a safety valve between himself and Lia. Where is Civali? Now he's got to wander through a couple of lap cars.
Civali just got stuck in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And Ronnie Silk right there with him.
Silk is definitely a big factor here. Don't count him out. 81 laps and counting.
He's got the right temperament, Ben. You
Yes,
talk
he
about
does.
guys who don't get too excited or too down.
Oh, Silk is sideways. And he spins off turn number 4.
Well, I guess he's down now.
Ronnie Silk, perhaps the right rear starting to go away on the Grasso brothers. Silk Plumbing and Heating car. The back end just kind of whipped around, and he will spin off turn number 4, lap number 82. Third caution of the event. 2 leaders. The 28 of Civali led for 2 circuits. The 36 took over the lead on lap number 3.
Now things get interesting. Will anybody pit for tires? We are better than halfway through the race. What do you think? There's an official at the entrance of pit road. He has a red flag now, but when it turns to green, things are about to get interesting in the Connecticut Classic.
They sure are, and Tony Sutton has the best seat in the house to be a part of that action. Tony, what is the feel on pit road? Is anybody coming in? Is anyone talking? Or is mum the word?
Well, I can tell you this, the teams are up on the wall. The majority of the leaders are on the wall, tires in hand, gas cans, catch cans. The 36 is coming in, the 4 is coming in, the 48 is coming in. It's going to be quite an episode once the green flag at the end of pit road comes out, because these teams are anxious. As a matter of fact, the 36 team, one of the tire changers was practicing on the spare rear end that they had. He was practicing taking the lug nuts off and putting the lug nuts on so as to get the sequence down correct. That is at Ted Christopher's pit. They are on the wall.
Brad LaFontaine is right there watching and overseeing this like the proud father of the newborn child. He's long overdue for a victory here.
The reason Brad LaFontaine was recruited for that team is for this reason, pit strategy.
That's right, and he is known for that. Teddy Christopher says, you know, it's hard to believe the caliber of equipment and the knowledge that we have. We've just had no luck at all. There is Christopher pulling out of line. With him comes Donny Lia, comes Savory, comes Civali, comes Hirschman, comes Marquis. comes Matt Hirschman, Todd Szegedy, Reggie Ruggiero, John Ballou, Regan, Stefanik, down to Tony Sutton.
Well, Christopher's in. They're going up on the left side of the car right now. The left rear tire is being changed. As the crew moves around, Hirschman's crew is also doing the same thing. They're on the right side. Left rear tires changed. They're going now to the right front tire. As the jackman, the Christophers have problem with the right rear. They couldn't get the tire off. It was stuck. Now they're getting the new replacement tire on. The crew member is screwing the lug nuts on as they go around to get the other side. The right front tire is loose. All they need to do is lift it up. It is off the car. This replacement tire is now going on. They got to push the 09 back because he cannot fit out. Christopher's in his way. Christopher still sits in the car as the crew finishes up and pushes him off. A long pit stop for the 36.
Well, they say that races have been won and lost on pit road. We'll see how this one shakes out. But there is no question about it. Brad LaFontaine will not be pleased by the performance of his team on pit road because they cost Christopher at least 10 positions on the racetrack.
And Tony Hirschman had a very quick pit stop in car number 48.
And the story was pretty much the same for Donny Lia. But the scoreboard tells the story. 86 laps in, inheriting the lead is car number 12. And that, of course, is Jimmy Ballou. Tony Hirschman's quick pit strategy pays off. He moves back into the runner-up spot. That means his crew helped him pass more cars off the racetrack than he did on the racetrack.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to find out maybe from Tony how many tires he changed. Remember, Tony has won races here at Stafford by changing 2 tires when everybody else changed 3.
That's right. So Tony Sutton is down there checking those things out. Let's set the field for you as we are about ready to go back to green. And the leader is still Jimmy Ballou with car number 12. Inherited the lead when the majority of the field went down on pit road. Tony Hirschman pitted for tires back up to second. In the third spot is the 94 of Eric Beers. We haven't talked about him all day long. Kevin Crowley prepares the race car, kind of an independent team. They haven't had much success at all in 2007. They are currently your third place car. Fourth is Donny Lia. Fifth is James Civali. Sixth is the Houlihan machine. Seventh is Szegedy, back to Tony Sutton.
Well, if you can look at the tire that came off of Hirschman's car, they're checking the circumference right now. Go right ahead. But you can see that the wear on the tire is very, very uniform. It is not blistered up. It has not rolled a lot of rubber off, although there's a couple of pieces stuck to it. But the tire is in excellent condition in comparison to what a blistered tire would look like.
Now, Ben, let's take you back to the Connecticut Classic of last year that was run on 4th of July. Jimmy Ballou didn't pit for tires on that night, and only one guy was able to get him, his brother.
That's right. Let's see what's going to happen off turn number 4. Jimmy Ballou leads him back down to the line. And Blewett is good. Meanwhile, here comes Eric Beers. Tony Hirschman runs to the outside. Beers has got a pretty good race car now, Matt.
We haven't talked about him that much, but he is challenging Jimmy Blewett for the lead.
Hirschman working over his next door neighbor. They live side by side on what they call Mud Lane in Northampton, Pennsylvania.
Look at that power move by Eric as he tries to jackknife his way under Jimmy Blewett. As Eric Beers, he puts up aluminum siding, and right now he's all over Blewett like siding, and he is in the lead.
Sure is. Eric Beers emerges as your brand new leader, and Donny Lia forced to get out of the gas, still sitting in third. But look at Todd Szegedy, Matt. Szegedy.
He's working on the outside. Very difficult to do here at Stafford. And he is going to pull off the move against Donny Lia.
He sure is, and now he races Blewett. They are almost 3 wide to the bottom of turn number 3, and Szegedy takes over the lead. Christopher in at a ton. Ted Christopher in at a ton. Underneath, the CarQuest Motorsports sign. The other car involved is the 91 car, and that, of course, is the Rocco machine. But Ted Christopher was coming to the front like a man possessed, and all of a sudden an open that was there disappeared. And Christopher got literally wedged into the ARP-CO retaining wall at a ton. And there is the Rocco machine, car number 91. You can see the damage done to that car as well.
Well, if this was one of those flash races that they debuted this year on the Whelen Tour, Ted Christopher would be counting the money by now. But he had a bad pit stop, and he never was able to recover from it.
We'll see if our camera can take a look at the 36 car. They're focusing on the 91, which is a car that was just contending as a lapped automobile. But there's the car we want to take a look at, Ted Christopher's number 36. And Christopher, you can see him moving inside the car itself. And it looks like suspension done to the right side. Let's take a look and see if we can figure this one out. Christopher is on the outside of Rocco. Stefanik is in front of him. Rocco runs up on the wheel of Stefanik, and then Ted Christopher becomes the victim.
What great replay there as we saw exactly what transpired between Rocco, Stefanik, and the man who got the worst end of that one, Ted Christopher, out of his race car, but he is not happy.
No, let's take another look at it. Now look very close because this is a pretty textbook case here. There's the 91, the red car, the 36. The 91 goes up on the 16, backs out of it just a bit, and makes contact with the 36. And Ted Christopher set stranded. And now Christopher is making his presence known to Mike Stefanik. So apparently from the seat of the driver, Christopher saw it a different way than the angle of our camera. There is Mighty Mike Stefanik.
So a very interesting development. It's once again, it looked like a race competition. Ted Christopher might have had the fastest car, but he could not make his way up through the pack after pitting for tires. It bit him at the Sizzler, and it bites him again tonight.
That's right, it sure does. And a heartbreaking situation. Eddie Whelen, who owns that race car, is one of the veteran car owners on the Whelen Modified Tour. He was the owner and financier for drivers like Mikey Winitsko, had a tremendous amount of success with his race cars. Jeff Fuller drove the 36 cars, had success here as well. And there's the 36 being brought back to the pits. And we'll see if that crew can get him back out. Points are very important in the big picture of things. 94 of the 150 laps complete in the Connecticut Classic. Let's see if Tony Sutton has more. Tony?
Well, the crew chiefs were really quiet. The crew just started to put their stuff away. They've got the tools out to replace the pieces, but they are definitely disappointed in the results of this incident up in turn number 3. Flemke came back in for more adjustment, and then sometimes people wonder why the cars that has just been in will come back in again and again, because sometimes the adjustments take a little bit more effort and time than normal, so they space them out over a couple of yellow flags, and hopefully every time they make an adjustment, the car gets a little bit better and a little bit better and allows the driver to move further up in position on the racetrack.
So a lot of work and a lot of strategy being planned out on pit road, as once again the Super Clean safety team really getting a workout here tonight in this one. As we go back to our host, Dean Mercier, before we bring you the remainder of the Connecticut Classic 150 in a holding pattern on lap 95.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Grab your Pit Stopper magazines. We've got a couple of those lucky numbers for you. If you match the numbers we're about to announce, you can go to the office and pick up your commemorative Pit Stopper magazine with autographs from the Whelen Modified Tour drivers that are with us tonight at Stafford. First lucky number is 57375. That's 57375. Also 57397, 57397, 57360, 57360, 57908, 57908, and 57365. That's 57365. If any of those numbers match the lucky number in your Pit Stopper magazine, you can go to the Stafford Speedway office and collect your prize. This one being a commemorative issue of Pit Stopper Magazine, tonight's Pit Stopper Magazine. In the centerfold, 21 drivers and the pictures and their cars, and we've got those autographed, and we also have the remainder of the modified tour drivers have signed this Pit Stopper Magazine elsewhere on the various pages. So there you have it, our lucky numbers for tonight. And we're about ready to go back to green flag racing. The lights are out on the pace car, so let's go back over to Ben Dodge and Matt Buckler with 97 laps of this 150-lap event in the books. Ben?
Well, the leader of the event, the scoreboard tells the story. It is Eric Beers with car number 94. Jimmy Blewett, who has not pitted, currently sets in second. Then it's Todd Szegedy in third, Donny Lia in the fourth spot. Row number 3 is Tony Hirschman. Along with him is James Civali. While under yellow, Zach Sylvester had a right front tire go down. He rejoins and picks up at the rear of the field. We're about to go green out. Turn number 4. Here's Matt Buckler with the call.
And it is Eric Beers relinquishing the advantage to Jimmy Blewett. So Showtime is having a good run as it tries to get its nostrils ahead of Beers. Beers is able to fight back.
It is a great dogfight battle for the lead, and Beers takes it in just a bit deeper. But Todd Szegedy is the guy to watch as he now moves into second as the Whisk tablet machine takes over the runner-up spot. Donny Lia says, so can he, then I will do the same. And now Lia moves into the third spot. Civali is up to the top 5, and fourth spot is currently Tony Hirschman. But it's Eric Beers, the surprise contender, to lead lap number 100 as they cross the line. 50 laps to go. What a career boost this would be for Eric Beers with this new race team if he could pull this off for Kevin Crowley and company.
A lot of times when a new team is formed, they get the driver first, then they get the crew chief. They did it the opposite. In the 94, Brian Crowley became the crew chief, and the man he wanted to pilot the car was Eric Beers.
It sure was. A little bit further back in this field, it's a good battle going on between Houlihan, is being pressured by Grigas, and right there in front of them is Reggie Ruggiero. Ruggiero about ready to go for 6. Szegedy. Now look at Donny Lia. Lia just muscled his way into second. Donny Lia
John Deere country
is flying. Inside, outside, down low, up high. Beers has got his hands full. Lia is coming like a man possessed. Bonsai down in turn 1.
And Beers is able to fight him off, and I don't know how he did it. Donny Lia looks like he has the fastest car again.
Lia pulls it back into line. 5 cars. Nose to tail, back to the stripe they come.
Reggie into the wall, gets hit head on.
Mad scramble down the front straightaway. There is 6 cars involved in the melee. Among them is the Ronnie Silk machine, car number 19. Reggie Ruggiero was right in the middle of it. The red car still set stranded. McKennedy Uhouse pulling away.
Boy, he got plastered head on. His car in a very vulnerable position, and he really got tattooed.
Szegedy chooses to take the low road. Jerry Marquis' car down on pit road, and there was one additional car that we could not see from our vantage point. We believe that's the 66, the defending race winner for John Blewett.
And that John Blewett car hit Reggie Ruggiero head on, right on the front straightaway. Very severe contact. Kevin Gadeo on pit road. He lost the right front tire.
Yep, the Reg's car being assisted by the wrecker as well. Let's take a look at the replay here. Now this we got to really study very close here. There's the Blewett machine we can see from our vantage point. And there is John Blewett out of the car. Okay. There's the Reg going to the outside of Jimmy Blewett. There's Jerry Marquis to the inside. Off the turn, the Reg and Marquis came together, and at one point Marquis was airborne.
And then you saw Blewett with nowhere to go pile into the 14 of Ruggiero.
That's right. And John Blewett goes in to be just checked, make sure he's okay. And there's the Regis car.
Boy, we've seen that car on the back of a wrecker quite a few times in the young season.
Yes, we have. And there's the Blewett machine. That's the defending race winning car of this event from 1 year ago. So work still continues. We're under a red flag situation. 105 laps are complete. Let's take another look at this again. The boys in television land are going to play it back for us. There's the Reg to the outside of Blewett. Marquis is to the inside. The two will touch. Reggie is sideways there momentarily, and Marquis gets up on the wheel. John Blewett becomes a victim of circumstances. The car that you see fire up and kick up the dirt in his boss's face is Eddie Flemke's number 10.
Also, Ronnie Silk had
Yep.
nowhere to go, ran into Blewett.
Yeah, and Goodale's car is the other car that's getting fired back up there, or trying to get fired back up. There is the Regis number 14 being brought behind the wall. You can see damage done to the right side of that, and the Blewett car is also heading back. There's a good look at Ronnie Silk's race car. The Grasso brothers prepare this race car, and I'm going to tell you, I've been around this sport a long, long time. But the Grasso brothers are probably two of the hardest working guys that I've ever seen in this business. They just never give up. This is not a big dollar, highly financed team. They eat, sleep, and drink and love racing. And if there is not a more dedicated group than those two brothers and the efforts that they put forward in preparing this race car for each and every one of these events. So they were lucky to make it through that one. And Ronnie Silk, again, doing a great job of being able to get the job done. So under a red flag situation, the field is stopped on the back stretch. Car number 94, Eric Beers, is the car that is shown in position number 1. Donny Lia is currently in second with the 4. Todd Zegedy is shown as your third place car, and Tony Hirschman unofficially is your fourth place car. Unofficially in fifth looks like James Civali, and then from there on it's up to the scorers and timing and scoring to determine, because there were cars that were involved in the situation that we might consider accident cars that weren't necessarily accident cars. Tony Sutton is down on pit road. We'll see if he has more. Tony?
Well, we're trying to catch up with Reg. We got out to talk to him coming out of the ambulance. Reg, you're all right. That's the main thing.
Oh yeah, no problem. Just a little hit, but you know.
Well, it really looked like you got a little sideways coming out, almost like there was something on the racetrack. Did you have contact prior to that?
Yeah, there was the 12 car didn't pit for tires, and he was all over the racetrack, and I went to go outside of him, and he's crowded me in the fence, so I slowed down a little bit, and I got hit in the back and got touched turned sideways, and you know that's racing, but you know give a guy a lane. That's all. That's all we ask, so we can put a show on.
Comments from a guy who's very disappointed, who was putting on a good show, moving up the Reg out of the race.
Well, there you have it. The best seat in the house that knows what's going on is the man that sits behind the wheel, who is able to tell his opinion and what's happening there. You know, there's an old saying that says everybody thinks they know what happened, but only the guys that were involved that turned the wheels and made the car move are the people that really know what went on.
And even sometimes they don't know, as the Jerry Marquis car, the 00, is on pit road, as we saw him come together with the 14. So 105 laps in, Ben, and we kind of forget before the red flag came out that Donny Lia and Eric Beers were really putting on a show to go for that lead.
They sure were. The yellow flag is coming back out, and that means the engines are firing back up, and they are going to continue to start moving the field at this point. And the Super Clean Safety Clean is really getting a workout here tonight. So.
Well, a lot of, I already forgot what Tony called, the stuff they were dropping on the front straightaway, but there is plenty of it. And it is probably going to take a while for the race to get up to speed.
Ronnie Silk is heading down on pit road, man, with car number 19. This definitely was not a scheduled stop for him either.
No, it's kind of been a roller coaster night for him, wasn't it? Had a great time trial. He was up in the front, made a little bobble, and now we go to Tony Sutton, and let's see what's happening down pit road.
Well, John, obviously this is not where you want to be. It just seemed like there was absolutely no place for you to go as you came on the outside of the racetrack.
No, I mean, the outside was open. I wasn't like I didn't slow down. I mean, I slowed down, and once he spun to the outside, there was no place for me to go. But just a shame I got jammed up in the pits there. And lost a ton of spots, and I mean, we really didn't even belong back there. We should have come out of the pits probably 5th or 6th, and just when you get back there, it's Lord only knows what's going to happen. But I don't know, these guys got to settle down. I mean, we can't keep wrecking race cars like this week after week, but I don't know. I don't know if it's guys not being patient or it's the tire we've got this year or what, but guys that weren't usually this fast are fast, and they're creating a lot of the problems.
Comments from John Blewett, a guy who's been behind the wheel for a long time, won a lot of races. Right now, he's just wondering how he's going to get his car back together.
And a lot of guys are wondering the same thing because quite an attrition rate in this one, 107 laps in. And we are going to brace ourselves to quite a shootout at the end between Beers and Lia, Todd Szegedy, Tony Hirschman, James Civali. Those 5 are going to be in the middle of the battle.
Jerry Marquis is back down on pit road with car number 00. He went in and out of the pits, and it almost appears that there might be a suspension problem still to the right side of that race car as well. So 107 and counting. Ronnie Silk is back down on pit road. The 10 of Eddie Flemke is also heading back out to rejoin in the competition here, and then Danny Sammons is coming back out with car number 0. Work still continuing as you look at the Diamond Vision screen on the Joe Brady race car, which is driven by Jerry Marquis. So you can see that there is still a lot of work there. Still under yellow. 108 circuits. These laps do count. Let's go to Tony Sutton.
Well, Marquis came in for more adjustments, and he takes an airline with him. I don't think he realizes he's picked up an airline that was on the racetrack, and it's wrapped around his rear Nerf bar as Marquis exited the pits. More adjustments on the car because it was not handling well, and now they're wondering how they're going to get him back in here to get that airline taken off the back of the car.
Well, when it goes bad, it goes really bad, Matt.
It's an airline, and it's not Southwest or United, is it?
No, it is not. And now Marquis, right rear tire is gone flat, and the airline.
Well, look at that. He's
That's
dragging
right.
that airline.
That's right. Little snake action there as he heads down the back straightaway, and that's exactly what it looks like.
I did that at a gas station once. I took that hose with me, and Marquis is doing the same thing as they have to get him back out onto pit road, and here he comes.
He's coming back in to get the airline cut off the car.
Back down to Tony Sutton. Tony.
Well, they're waiting for Jerry Marquis to come in. They've got the gear out so they can cut it off. Marquis brings the 00 in. The crew goes over the wall. They have the Sawzall out. They're going to work on the Nerf bar. They're cutting off the pieces that were involved in the incident, prying them back. They have a large 4-foot pry bar. The airline's been removed. Now they're taking off the right rear tire that went down as a result of the tire being smacked by the fitting on the end of the airline. Back upstairs.
Well, 109 laps are complete. We're about ready to go back to green. If you're going to place your bets now, Matt, what would you bet as you look at the men in the front row?
Well, a little stutter step by Eric Beers. He had trouble getting up to speed. No problems for Donny Lia.
Donny Lia went to the outside, down the back straightaways, but Lia's strong point. He just went by Eric Beers like Beers just threw out the parachute. But in the center of the turn, Beers comes back. That's the Kevin Crowley setup, and it is working.
Well, how long can Lia afford to stay on the outside of Eric Beers?
Lia isn't about to give up yet, though. Dogfight battle for the lead. Todd Szegedy right there with him, and so is it James Civali.
Boy, it looked like Eric Beers was going to get sideways a couple of laps ago. He made a pretty strong recovery.
Sure did, and he is not giving up. Here comes James Civali. Civali has moved up to third. Remember, he started in position number 1.
Well, you don't see that very often. James Civali just thundering his
Oh, Beers is in trouble. He spins like a top.
Szegedy slams the wall.
And the field scatters. Tony Hirschman right front and left front wheels going in opposite directions. 113 back to yellow. The big victim in this one is Tony Hirschman, as his left front wheel is heading in the wrong direction. Down in pit road, here's Tony Sutton looking at the action as Hirschman comes in.
We're down here at Hirschman's pit, and Hirschman put his hands up in the air, and the crew just waved their arms and said, "We're done," and walked away from the car. The front end of the car is severely damaged. A lot of the suspension components have been sheared off. They're going to take the tire off and put another tire on it to get it around, but there's way too much work to be done right now on the 48 car to get Tony Hirschman back out onto the racetrack.
You know, that's kind of interesting, Matt. That's a championship team, and for them to just not think about the points and just kind of walk away from that, that's kind of unusual to see that.
Well, Tony said he is not going to go for a championship this year. Let's take another look at it.
Szegedy was a little bit crossed up there. Pulled it back in the line. Eric Beers just went in too deep, and the car came around on him. Szegedy spun to the top side of the racetrack. But where is Hirschman in all of this?
Well, let's take another look at it. Hirschman in car number 48. He currently is running right behind Szegedy.
And there must have been contact made right there, Matt, when Szegedy went up the racetrack and spun back across, because
didn't look like it was severe
no,
contact,
it did
but
not. James Civali pulled off the Timex timely move in that one. He got through there somehow.
as it was rare to see him get to the outside of Todd Szegedy and make the move into third place so easy. Then when Beers lost it in turn 2, Civali was able to dart into second.
Todd Szegedy was one of the faster cars in the first 115 laps. Mike Stefanik is down on pit road. Jimmy Beluit, Jerry Marquis in and out, and Todd Szegedy. Marquis, our camera is on the 16 car, working on the toe in, the toe out of the right front, making an adjustment there.
I think the appropriate word to describe this one so far, carnage.
Yep.
Especially in about the last 25 laps.
Todd Zegedy's team, left rear they're putting on. There was some damage done to the sheet metal. You can't see it from this vantage point that they're showing you on the Diamond Vision screen, but when you see the other side of the car, you can see the intensity of the body damage that was done on that race car.
And you know, Ben, one Hirschman looks like he's out of the way, but another one becomes a contender. Matt Hirschman in car number 59.
There's that body damage you're talking about. I believe that's where Hirschman ran up on the back of the Wiss Tablets car, Matt.
On the replay, it didn't look like severe contact, but in real life, it knocked Tony Hirschman out of the festivities.
Back down to Tony Sutton. Tony?
Well, the Wiss car was in. The Nerf bars were pushed around. Didn't appear to be any severe damage to the superstructure of the car. The left rear wheel was damaged, and they made some suspension adjustments to compensate for the damage of the pieces around it. And they've got the board out again. They want to bring him back in if time allows before they go back to green, as the 16 car also comes back in for additional adjustment on it. It doesn't take much of a contact to knock the adjustments out, but the long yellows allow these guys to get in and address the adjustments in order to get the car to go straight again.
There was an old saying that said, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Eric Beers has experienced all that and more here tonight.
33 laps away from his first victory ever at Stafford Motor Speedway. And he loses control in the middles of turns 1 and 2. And a pretty good contingent at the front of the field now, led by Donny Lia and James Civali. Of course, it was last August when James Civali got his first tour win right here at Stafford Motor Speedway, holding off Reggie Ruggiero.
And it was one that they're still talking about. Then he backed it up with even more victories on this very competitive series. Lights are off on the safety vehicle at the point. Let's see what's going to happen as we're about ready to go back to green flag racing. Donny Lia was very, very quick. James Civali right there in the front row with him. And Lia has the advantage.
Now Civali has to worry about second place because here comes Matt Hirschman.
Matt Hirschman moves back into second.
Bobby Grigas, as Civali gets trapped on the outside. Grigas trying to move up into third.
Grigas has been hanging around with the big dogs on the porch all night long.
What about Zach Sylvester? He's in contention
Sure
for the
is.
first time tonight.
You remember, on a previous caution, he had a right front go down and he was back out in scratch, and he's now among the top 5 cars. He's given the chase car a good run for the money here today. Now Civali gets muscled by Sylvester, and Sylvester moves into the 4th spot.
And Civali finally gets back down low where he can do some damage. The outside groove was not kind to Civali during that last occasion.
It sure wasn't, and you mentioned it earlier today. Dick Houlihan, very patient and calculated. Down into turn 1, it looks like, yes, it is. It is the number 72 car. No, 73 car.
John McKennedy
Goes around, down into the first turn, and hits the safety wall. John McKennedy, driver from the ISMA Super Modified circuit. Had a lot of success there in his very, very young career. I'm going to take a look at it now, see if we can figure and sort this one out as well, Matt. And it almost looks like a tire or something might have went down on the race car.
It looked like he didn't have much help as
No.
he went sideways and then banged the wall.
Yep. Yeah. Kind of a heartbreaker for this young talented driver. You're going to hear a lot about him as well. Kennedy, as we said, competes on the ISMA Super Modified circuit.
Holds a lot of records
Sure
on
does.
that series for lap times.
Sure does. Just turned in a good run at the All-Star Speedway a few weeks back with the podium finish there as well. So the safety wall that has been installed by the Arute families down in turn 1 is like the type of a wall that they have in Nextel Cup competition, and it literally is mounted on devices which gives it a spring type movement which allows it based on the foam backing that is in between the wall itself to literally spring like almost like a springboard instead of it being a solid. And there he is getting out of the race car at this point. And we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with the final 26 laps of the Connecticut Classic 150 right after this.
With over 25,000 dedicated CarQuest Auto Parts professionals across North America, we're proudly serving a world in motion.
And 2 weeks from tonight, Friday, June 8th, it's the TSI Harley-Davidson 150. And it's the one and only appearance this year at Stafford Motor Speedway of the Busch East Series. They'll be here for the 17th annual TSI Harley-Davidson 150. You can expect to see Nextel Cup developmental drivers like Joey Logano, Mark Davis, Chase Austin, and Jeff Earnhardt. And you'll see some very familiar veterans from the Busch East Series like Matt Kobieluk and Mike Olson and Sean Case. Tickets are priced at $30 for adult general admission, $5 for the kids ages 6 to 14 general admission, and the kids aged 5 and under are admitted absolutely free. Reserved seating available for $32 for all ages. Order your tickets by calling the Speedway box office at 860-684-2783, 684-2783. That's the TSI Harley-Davidson 17th Annual 150 with the NASCAR Busch East Series, coming up 2 weeks from tonight right here at Stafford Motor Speedway, Friday night, June 8th. We're about to go back to Green Flag Racing, so let's go back for the final laps of this event with Ben Dodge and Matt Buckler.
Well, Mike Stefanik heads down off pit road and picks up at the rear of the field. He came in, again, making another adjustment to his race car. But down in turn number 1, the 73 car is being picked up hammock style, an indication of the severity of the damage. But those soft walls, you can literally see it if you look at the Diamond Vision screen close. They have literally a foam that is placed between the wall itself, and it's spring mounted, and it allows it to actually, through cables, to literally rebound. And you can see there's the white foam right there, Matt, and the cables that are connected in the springs that literally are almost like have shock absorbers on a car. As it makes contacts, it's like a situation you see like in a boxing ring, how that one side you push in and it tightens and moves the opposite way of the other side.
Like the turnbuckles.
That's right.
There is that perfect shot. If you look at your Diamond Vision, you see, I think that was described like a styrofoam.
Yeah,
right?
It is. It is. There was originally a company right in Rockville, Connecticut that burned down several years ago. That was a company that originally founded that type of foam that was used in safety applications that has now become what they refer to as the soft walls.
Well, John McKennedy was very happy that they were there as that car is being removed from the track. A lot of plot twists in this one tonight. For a while, it looked like Ted Christopher had the field covered, had a disastrous pit stop, and even disastrous luck in turn number 3 as he was knocked out of the contention. Then guys like Tony Hirschman, Todd Zegedy, Eric Beers, a lot of the front runners have had their problems, and now it's Donny Lia trying to go 2 for 2 this year at Stafford Motor Speedway. Matt Hirschman kind of races like his father.
Yeah.
Saves something for the end.
Yep.
We saw it in a very early race this year, an SK modified race, where it looked like Matt Hirschman wasn't a factor, and then all of a sudden, the last 10 laps, he almost pulled out a victory. So Matt Hirschman has that kind of patient style that his father has. Even though he's a young guy, you think aggressiveness and daredevil-type moves, but Matt is pretty patient.
He sure is, and he got that from watching his dad. He's traveled ever since he was old enough to walk to each and every one of these races and watched his dad and watched his style of driving. And I think that's where he learned that, and he's done it exceptionally well. Very, very talented driver.
What about Bobby Grigas? It was only 2 years ago. He was in a late model division in the weekly racing series at Thompson. Last year he moved up to the True Value series, had 1 victory.
Yep, he did.
And this year is into the Whelen modified series. So who would have forecast 2 years ago that Bobby Grigas would be 3rd in a race at Stafford Motor Speedway with 21 laps to go?
That is so true, and he's been very consistent and very strong here. Zach Sylvester, under caution, just two previous cautions, had a right front tire starting to go soft on the car. Lucky for him, it was under yellow because he was able to go down on pit road, and they were able to change the tire and get him back out. And he's turning in a very good run, up on top of the scoreboard among the top 4 cars here as well. Let's go back down to Tony Sutton.
Well, it's very interesting to watch the development of young drivers. Matt Hirschman has a level of maturity way beyond his age. And another driver that raced here at other racetracks in New England, Martin Truex Jr., basically did the same thing. He was tutored by his father. He actually slip-seated with his father for the last season his father drove, and that development gave him the opportunity to go to DEI, be tested, and now is a regular on the Cup Series. But Matt Hirschman has a level of maturity, has a level of focus that you don't see in a lot of young people. And the other thing is he's able to listen. He listens intently to what's being talked about, and he's able to take that information and apply it on the racetrack.
Sure is, and there is the Matt Hirschman car as you look at the Diamond Vision screen. And there is Eric Beers. That's definitely one of the roller coaster rides of the night. Starting way deep in the pack, taking over the lead, leading for a long time, getting it a little bit too deep, spinning, and now it's a whole different deal, but there's still plenty of time to get the job done. 131 just clicked off when they crossed the stripe in this 150 lap event as Tony Hirschman's car is being pushed back behind the wall. Matt?
What about James Civali in this one? You know that Batman movie, Two-Face?
Yeah.
Well, this car is Two-Face. When it's on the bottom groove, it looks like a rocket. When it's on the outside, it's ugly. It starts to restart on the bottom, so maybe we can see a resurgence for James Civali in car number 28.
You know, also we want to point out, we have to give credit where credit is due. The Whelen car is turning in a great run here tonight. So they're already up among the top 6 cars, and that's a great run for that very hard-working crew as well.
But now we're back up to speed, and nobody does it quicker than Donny Lia.
And Donny Lia, deja vu, looks to bring another victory into the camp of Bob Garbarino. Bobby Grigas up to second. Here comes Civali. Sparks will fly, tempers will flare.
Boy, Civali can keep that car on the bottom. He has one of the fastest cars there. Look at him go to work against Grigas.
Civali moves into second. Zach Sylvester backs out of it just a bit. Here comes Houlihan to the outside as Grigas has to settle back into third.
Boy, there's some bumping going on between Sylvester, Grigas, and Hirschman takes advantage of that by moving back into third momentarily.
Up the hill goes Hirschman. 3 cars, make it 5 cars, end up squeaking on by. Leader still remains Donny Lia. Battle is for third. Zach Sylvester looks for a podium finish if he can get around Grigas. 135, 15 to go. Sylvester taps Grigas.
A little give and take. Give a guy a shot and take over the spot, and that's what Sylvester did.
He'll take over the third spot. The 10 car goes around Grigas and moves into the 4th spot. Flemke's had a roller coaster night as well, man, but he's back up in the top 4.
He spent a lot of time on pit road. Right now he's in the top 5. And the question is, can James Civali corral the 4 of Lia over the final dozen laps?
The clock is ticking. But Lia is in a comfort zone all by himself. Civali is still second. Sylvester is still third. 4th is Flemke. 5th is Grigas. 6th is Zegedy. 7th is Matt Hirschman. 8th, Jamie Domeno. We haven't talked about him. 9th is Houlihan. And 10th looks like Richard Savory. Good run for him as well. When they come back to the stripe this time, 10 to go.
And is Civali making any inroads on that lead owned by Lia? Here comes Civali. It looks like that lead is starting to whittle away.
The big question is Donny Lia's crew telling him just stay in the lead and be patient. Civali's crew is telling him go get him. He's the rabbit, chase the rabbit and take down the win. Civali is closing up that gap back.
And he has time, better than 8 laps to go. And that lead continues to diminish for Donny Lia. Is he saving something in case he needs it for the finish? Only Donny Lia knows the answer to that one.
James Civali has closed it down to less than 2 car lengths. Civali visually is the quicker car down the backstretch. Lia's tires may be going away, Matt.
Well, there's no lap traffic in front of these 2 front runners, It will be decided by Lia and Civali, and here comes Civali getting ready to knock on the door.
Less than 7 circuits. Lia is still your leader. Meanwhile, Grigas and Szegedy came together further back in the field, but no yellow here.
Remember, it's one thing for Civali to catch Lia. It's a completely different thing for him to pass Lia.
When they come back to the stripe, it'll be the final 5 circuits remain. Civali's closed it all up. But Lia is still the leader, and you pointed it out, Matt. Catching him is one thing, but going by for the money and the prestige of the Connecticut Classic 150 is a whole different ballgame.
Lia wants to stay low in the corners and not give Civali any room to work with.
As Mike Stefanik is still coming towards the front of the field through traffic. And Grigas' car is puffing smoke. Grigas' car is smoking heavily. 147.
Now Civali knows the best time to make his move could be on the last lap. We have seen him do that before.
2 laps remaining, 1 mile left in the competition.
Looks like Lia started to pull away again by a little bit.
Donny Lia looks for back-to-back Stafford victories in the Whelen Modified Tour for the Connecticut Classic 150. White flag is out, 1 lap to go.
Maybe Lia had that little extra when he needed it. He has a pretty good safety valve between him and Civali as they headed to turn 3.
Down to the bottom of turn 3, Donny Lia, back-to-back wins. It is Lia in the Mystic Missile to take down the win. James Civali unofficially in for second. Third, Zach Sylvester. Nope, the 10 car of Eddie Flemke. Fourth is Zach Sylvester. And rounding out the top 5 unofficially is the number 2 car of Todd Szegedy. He came, he saw, he conquered. As car number 4, Donny Lia has done it again with back-to-back victories here at the Stafford Motor Speedway.
He came, he saw, he conquered, and he avoided all the accidents tonight. Some races you win, and I think this one is a race that Donny Lia survived.
It sure
and a
is.
lot of the front runners couldn't do what he did tonight, keep his car in one piece until the finish.
Well, he'll head to CarQuest Victory Lane. Still one feature event left in tonight's program. But Donny Lia will be celebrating with the Bob Garbarino Mystic Missile, car number 4. CarQuest Victory Lane. James Civali will finish in the runner-up spot. And what a great comeback for Eddie Flemke with car number 10, with Zach Sylvester to finish an impressive 4th. Matt?
Pretty smart race by Donny Lia. Looked like Civali was going to catch him, but I think Donny Lia saved a little something in case he needed it in reserve. He needed it, he used it, and he used it to a victory.
He sure did. Lia is smiling from ear to ear inside the automobile as he'll be about ready to get out of the race car in just a moment, as we'll go down to Tony Sutton, who's there with what we can tell is a very ecstatic Donny Lia. Tony?
Well, that is an understatement by any means. The crew has taken their time to congratulate him, each one coming up to the car. Donny's trying to get the safety equipment off so he can get out, but the crew is not allowing him the opportunity yet. The Hans device comes off, the belts are off, and after 150 laps, Donny Lia ready to exit the car and accept the laurels of victory for the Connecticut Classic. A dominant drive by the young man in behind the wheel of the 4 car. Yeah, baby. Very, very impressive operation of the crew. And Donny Lia, after 150 laps, emerges from the 4 car, the victor of the Connecticut Classic. A wave to the crowd. Some hugs all around. High fives for everybody. Even James Civali comes by to congratulate. Well, I'll tell you what, you know, we talk about putting on a clinic. I don't know if you were putting on a clinic, but you sure were doing some serious operating out there.
Yeah, we had a great car. I got to thank these guys. You know, these guys gave me an awesome piece of machinery here, and I just got to do my part and not mess up. And as long as I don't mess up, we go to victory lane. So, as long as the luck is there and I don't mess up, we go to victory lane. I don't know what to say. I got to thank Bob Garbarino and Bob Mueller and all the guys on the crew. Just awesome stuff here, and having a great time, having a lot of fun, But the guys really work hard, and I got to thank Greg Schroeder back at the shop. He does a great job preparing the car, and he's very meticulous, and nothing gets missed, and it shows tonight because we're here in victory lane again.
One question I have to ask that was a lot of discussion on pit road was a question of tires, whether or not that the tires were going to make a play into it. The tires that came off the cars that did change them looked fine. Did you have any problem at all with yours?
No, we were fine. We missed maybe we weren't all the way dialed in perfect there for the first run, but we were dialed in perfect for the second run, and I couldn't be any happier. These guys just do a great job, and what a pit stop. I mean, awesome pit stop, and we won the race tonight probably more in the pits than on the racetrack, but either way, it was a great run, and real happy to be here in victory lane again. I can't believe it. I guess we paid our dues long enough. Now Stafford's paying us back a little bit, so I'm pretty excited.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's very exciting to watch. We thought near the end there James Civali might be able to run you down, but there was a little bit left in the back pocket because you were able to pull away from him and take the checkered flag after 150 laps. Congratulations on a great drive.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Send it back upstairs.
Okay, thank you, Tony Sutton. Super Clean Brands is the newest SK modified contingency sponsor, with Super Clean providing a weekly contingency bonus of $125 each week to the SK modified second place finisher. In addition to their contingency sponsorship, Super Clean will present the Super Clean move of the race on each 2007 episode of NASCAR New England. Super Clean Brands will also become the official sponsor of the Stafford Motor Speedway Safety Crew, which will be known as the Super Clean Safety Crew during this 2007 racing season. Super Clean Brands products can be found at your local CarQuest Auto Parts store. The same can be said for Tony Sutton. He's in CarQuest Victory Lane.
James Civali, man, you were there no matter who was in the lead. You were on the outside, the inside, and as a matter of fact, for a while there, it looked like the outside was going to be the place for you to be.
Yeah, the outside was all right if they were stacked up on the bottom and they were, playing bumper tag in the center of the turn, and you could get a couple cars on the outside, but you can never pass for the lead. Like, if I ran down Lia, there was no way I was going on the outside of him. I mean, you got to be so much faster than the guy to go on the outside of him, but, I mean, we were fast. The car was real great. It's the first time out for this car this year, and it was real good. It was a little loose in the beginning, and second and third. Changed it on the pit stop and got it real good, and started to run down Lee at the end, but he ran out of tire, ran out of time, and just he was really, really good. I mean, even if I got to him, I don't think I could have done much with him.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was a very impressive drive, and you managed to avoid a lot of the pitfalls that took a lot of cars out.
Yeah, we had a good pit stop that got us up in the top 5 even after the pit stop, and that was a big deal. And then right there, almost at the end with Beers, he just lost it, and I just picked the right road, I guess.
Well, James Civali, a terrific drive. We congratulate you on your podium finish. Any final comments?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for having us, and Don King, Raymar Hall, Liberty Limited, my parents for getting me here, and thank you.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'd like to thank you for putting on a clinic out there. That was a terrific drive. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, race fans, once again this year, the number 2 SK Modified team is again hosting the Bosch Fan Experience Contest. You can purchase a raffle ticket for $5 at the Speedway Collectibles booth located behind Turn 4 for a chance to become the Bosch Fan Experience winner and serve as the honorary car owner of the 2 SK Modified for an evening. All raffle proceeds will be donated to the Victory Junction Camp in conjunction with Tom Baldwin Memorial Open and Stafford Motor Speedway. Back down to Tony Sutton.
Well, the word for tonight is adjustment. How many times did you come in and adjust on the car?
Actually, not enough times, I guess. We still weren't right at the end, but I guess we had the 3rd best car, and I'm just happy to come home in one piece tonight. It was pretty rough out there.
Ed Flemke Jr., congratulations on 3rd place. We got him coming in every which direction, but you're on the podium, and that's all that counts.
That's all that matters, as long as we get here.
Congratulations on 3rd place.
Thank you very much.